how was your state of mind at the time? Because you were obviously transitioning from handling kids to handling adults. You were leading this establishment as well, so you were put in a leading position. So you had team members to guide, to support, etc. And your pregnancy as well. So you were becoming a mother for the first time. How was it juggling all of these things?
Well, I'm not gonna lie. It was a stressful transition, especially when it was with the pregnancy and everything. So my perspective was like, am I not good enough? But then so everything happens for a reason. When I start to actually transitioning well with the adults, and also receiving supervision, my supervisor used to tell me, highlight the skills about myself that I wasn't aware of. For example, that I was an assertive person. I was like, whoa, what is being an assertive? What does it mean? I had that space as a person, as a professional, where I used to receive that feedback, and any thoughts, any uncertainties, they were being ticked. I was being provided with guidance. So guidance was the first step, and that reassurance that, okay, despite that maybe there are a lot of things going on, I'm on the right direction. Mm-hmm. So that element of guidance, stopping, asking for help, and going into the right direction.
Mm-hmm. What internal, so you had a mentor and a supervisor, yes. and I think I agree that's very important, because sometimes you start the journey of personal growth can be very lonely as well, and it's very, yes. very subjective. So yes. you wouldn't know whether you are on the right track or not, and sometimes you have to take certain risks about yourself to see whether you are able to do it. And self-doubt is sort of a constant when you're in an uncharted territory. So having some sort of guide is very important. But what internal resources you had to develop in order to become that person?
I think, first of all, being humble enough, and you allow yourself to make mistakes. Because I think that even when you're in front of your supervisor, it gives you that sense of confidence that if you did something maybe you're not very proud of or you're not sure of, that gives you the space to speak it out rather than keep it to yourself because you're not sure. Mm-hmm. Also the resilience, so whatever the obstacle might be, you keep on going, that there may be other situations, other directions that you can take. And also being determined. Whatever there is, there are possibilities. My philosophy is there's nothing impossible. There is always a way. And through it all, even as a professional, so I strengthened those resources. And also, I've learned how to regulate my own emotions. In the sense that this working in the mental health field, it can be very stressful, it can be very tiring. I remember there used to be times where I used to take the emotional baggage of work at home, and that is really unhealthy, especially when you need to do your other roles in your life, for example, being a mother. But I found ways how to regulate those emotions, even if I'm being frustrated or whatever I'm trying to do, I'm finding closed doors, like, okay, calm down. I used to go in the yard, have a coffee, that 5-10 minute break, and that used to help me contain myself, regulate my own emotions, and then go, okay, I'll try again, or next to the next task.
What sort of thoughts go through your mind at that moment?
Either I'm not good enough, or this person, let's say if I'm working with a client, the helplessness that a client might be feeling, or the stuckness, you might be feeling them yourself. So let's say if a client wants to reach a goal, or the plan is that that particular client wants to reach a goal, and we're not managing, if you don't regulate yourself and you check in, this helplessness, this frustration that I'm feeling, is it mine or is it the client's? You can easily get carried away with those. But if you take a step back and you check in where this is coming from, you can have a sharper mind, like come up with a different way. If this is not working out, we need a plan B.
Okay.
And very importantly, that you don't put your own expectations on the client, but it's all up to the client's, how do you say it? The client's abilities. I cannot force someone to do A, B, and C when they have the ability for the time being to do only A.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So it happens to all of us sometimes, even when someone comes for guidance. So should I buy this dress or this dress?
Exactly.
You might because you prefer a certain style or a certain color, you might influence the other person into purchasing something that you like, and you might perhaps not take into consideration the expectations of the other person. So it's very easy to not impose, but to influence or to put forward
Exactly.
what would be our own liking. So, for example, I've heard this many times. So, I know people that if I'm going to buy you a present, for example, I have to like the present myself in order for me to give it to you.
Buy it.
For me, it never. I can understand from where the person is coming from, but to me, it doesn't make sense. So, because I know that you like something, I will buy it for you, even though I don't like it myself, because the present is for you, not for me, ultimately. So, it's very easy to put our expectations on
the others.
Yes.
And the reality, if you're in a helpless situation, you're going to feel more helpless or stuck.
Yeah.
Because you're not being realistic. And that is something else that I think over the years I have learned, is to be realistic, set up the standards up to that particular situation, not up to your expectations or to society's expectations. Is to seeing the individual as an individual.
Yeah. You mentioned that you regulate your emotions, you take a step back, and by time you developed a sharper mind because your profession is to support people in need. Imagine that you don't know all of these things, and not everyone has a background in psychology. What would help a person without having no background in psychology, and perhaps without that insight of rationalizing their own thoughts? How can they support themselves into rationalizing their own thoughts and making sense of what's going on inside their heads?
I think, first of all, being able to receive feedback. So not taking the approach that I know it all and that I can never make any mistakes, or that any situation I am okay with it. As I said earlier, being humble. So, and allowing yourself to make mistakes, and it's okay that a situation frustrated you or you got angry, and then you need to question, okay, but why am I feeling this way? I remember, for example, back then, when I was still a new, I was Noelene with no experience, obviously like I am today. I remember there were particular situations at work where I used to really got frustrated, and even physically I used to feel like shortness of breath. I was like, but why am I feeling this way? This particular situation is really, it's not like this. I am making it like this, you know? And then through my supervisor, these teams in my life that this client were presenting were very similar to a particular situation that I was going through in my personal life. So right there, I wasn't being the professional. So Noelene and the client were getting mixed. I couldn't see the situation clear. So a person should ask himself, herself, what are these themes in a particular situation? Are they triggering something that I am going through in my personal life, that are not letting me see the situation clearly, that I'm being biased by something going on in the situation? As a mental health advocate, I really take care of my mental well-being, so going to therapy also helps me to get to know better myself, my story, regulating my own emotions, because I believe that I cannot help you and your mental well-being if I don't start with mine. That is something I strongly believe in, and think that every mental health practitioner, mental health professional should take this into consideration, because if not, you'll get to a point where you'll get burnt out. That is what I believe in.